Hi, welcome back to Native History. Today, we're going to be asking a tough question. How much Native American ancestry does a person need to be considered Native American? This is a very complex issue. It encompasses legal, cultural, and social dimensions. First off, it's no universally agreed upon percentage that definitively determines whether someone is Native American. Different tribes, governmental agencies, and individuals may have different criteria for determining Native identity. This issue can be explored through the lens of blood quantum, tribal enrollment, cultural affiliation, and a broader socio-political context. So first, let's talk about blood quantum. One of the most commonly referenced methods for determining Native American identity is the concept of blood quantum. Blood quantum refers to the proportion of a person's of a person's ancestry that is Native American. For example, if one of a person's grandparents was fully Native American, that person would have a blood quantum of 1/4, or 25%. The idea of blood quantum was introduced by the US government during the 19th and early 20th centuries as a means to determine eligibility for certain rights, land allotments, and benefits. The concept is rooted in colonialism and was used as a way to assimilate Native populations by gradually reducing the number of people recognized as Native American through intermarriage. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA, and some tribes use blood quantum to determine eligibility for tribal membership. The required blood quantum varies by tribe, with some tribes requiring as much as 1/2 Native ancestry, while others may require as little as 1/16. But it's important to note that not all tribes use blood quantum as a criterion for membership. Some tribes may require only proof of direct descent from any tribal member, regardless of blood quantum. In addition to blood quantum, tribes often have their own specific criteria for enrollment, which can involve lineal descent, residency, language proficiency, or cultural participation. Tribal sovereignty allows each tribe to establish its own enrollment criteria, and these criteria can vary widely. For some tribes, proving descent from someone listed on historical tribal rolls, like the Dawes rolls or the Indian census rolls, is sufficient for membership. For others, active participation in tribal life or resident in a specific geographic area may be required. Tribal enrollment is not just about ancestry, it's also about maintaining the cultural and social integrity of the tribe. For many tribes, being Native is as much about cultural affiliation, language, and community participation as it is about blood quantum. As such, some individuals with significant Native ancestry may not be enrolled in a tribe if they do not meet other criteria, while others with lower blood quantum may be considered full members of their tribe due to their active engagement with their community. Beyond legal and governmental definitions, Native identity is deeply rooted in culture, language, and community. For many Native people, being Native is not merely a matter of genetics, but about living, practicing, and passing on their cultural traditions. This perspective emphasizes that identity is not solely determined by blood quantum or tribal enrollment, but by connection to one's culture and community. Cultural affiliation can also include participation in ceremonies, knowledge of the language, and engagement in the political and social life of the tribe. Some Native scholars and activists argue that focusing too much on blood quantum perpetuates colonial ideas of race and identity, and that Native American identity should be based on cultural practices instead. The socio-political context of Native identity is critical to understanding the complexity of this issue. Historically, Native people have been subjected to policies of forced assimilation, removal, and genocide, all of which have impacted how identity is defined and maintained. Blood quantum was introduced as a way to reduce the number of people recognized as Native and to undermine tribal sovereignty. Today, debates over blood quantum and tribal enrollment are often intertwined with issues of sovereignty, self-determination, and the preservation of culture. Moreover, the U.S. government's recognition of Native identity has implications for legal rights, land ownership, and access to resources. Federal recognition as Native American can grant access to specific legal protections, health services, education benefits, and cultural preservation programs. But this recognition is also tied to the government's interest in controlling and limiting the number of people eligible for these benefits. So the idea that someone with minimal Native ancestry can reconnect with their roots and become part of the Native American community raises complex questions about identity, culture, and the dynamics of belonging. This issue touches on a broader debate between essentialist and constructionist views of culture and identity, as well as the specific historical and socio-political context of Native American communities. Reconnection, the process by which someone with distant or minimal Native ancestry can seek to reclaim their indigenous identity, is a phenomenon that has become more common in recent years. This process often involves individuals seeking to learn about their heritage, engage with the culture, and potentially seek membership in a tribe. For some, this journey is deeply personal and meaningful, driven by a desire to honor their ancestors and contribute to the revitalization of their culture. But the question of whether someone with minimal Native ancestry can truly become Native American again is not straightforward. Native American identity is not just about genetics or ancestry. It's also about lived experience, community connection, and cultural practice. For many Native communities, being Native American is as much about participating in the life of the community, speaking the language, and practicing cultural traditions as it is about ancestry. The tension between reconnection and cultural constructionism comes into play when considering the nature of identity itself. Essentialism posits that identities are inherent, fixed, or rooted in biological or cultural essence. From this perspective, one might argue that being Native is something you either are or are not, based on your ancestry, cultural upbringing, and community ties. According to this view, someone with minimal Native ancestry who has not been raised within the culture might struggle to authentically claim that identity. On the other hand, cultural constructionism suggests that identities are fluid, constructed, and subject to change over time, based on social, cultural, or personal factors. From this perspective, identity is not solely determined by birth or biology, but is something that can be constructed or reconstructed through cultural engagement, learning, and participation. In this view, someone with even a small amount of Native ancestry might be able to reconnect with their heritage and become recognized as part of the community if they engage deeply with the culture and are accepted by the community. Tribal sovereignty is a very crucial factor in determining who is considered Native American. Each tribe has the authority to set its own criteria for membership, which may include factors like blood quantum, lineal descent, cultural participation, or residency. Some tribes are more open to allowing individuals to reconnect with their heritage, especially if those individuals demonstrate a genuine commitment to the community and culture. But there's also concern within some Native communities about individuals with minimal Native ancestry claiming Native identity without a deep understanding of the culture or connection to the community. This concern is rooted in the historical context of colonization and cultural appropriation, where aspects of Native culture have been commodified or used without proper respect or understanding. For many Native people, the idea of reconnection must be approached with respect, humility, and a willingness to listen and learn from the community. The debate over who can claim Native American identity also raises questions about cultural authenticity and gatekeeping. Some argue that strict gatekeeping is necessary to protect the integrity of Native cultures and communities, ensuring that only those who are truly connected to the culture and community can claim the identity. Others worry that this approach might exclude people who genuinely want to reconnect with their heritage and contribute to the revitalization of Native cultures. Ultimately, the process of reconnecting with Native American identity is highly individual and context-dependent. It requires a very deep commitment to learning about the culture, understanding the historical and contemporary issues facing Native communities, and engaging with the community in meaningful ways. It also requires the willingness to accept that identity is not just something one claims, but something that must be recognized and validated by others. The idea of someone with minimal Native American ancestry becoming Native again is a culturally and politically charged issue that touches on a broader debate about identity, belonging, and the dynamics of cultural change. While cultural constructionism suggests that identities can be fluid and reconstructed, this process has to be approached with care, respect, and a deep commitment to the community. Tribal sovereignty plays a critical role in determining who is considered Native American, and the process of reconnection must involve more than just claiming an identity. It must be about genuinely engaging with and contributing to the culture and the community. Ultimately, the question of who's Native American is not just about ancestry or blood quantum, but about lived experience, cultural practice, and the recognition of the community. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe.